And as you hear this, a quiet wonder begins to rise, not from the world around you, but from that holy place within you, where the silence breathes, and breath itself is made of light. There is a stirring, gentle but relentless, like the soft unfolding of a rose under moonlight. You do not yet know how, but something inside remembers that it has always been this way. Not a learning, but a remembering. Not striving, but returning. You did not come here to be shown a new thing. You came to awaken to what was always yours. For long before the world taught you to measure, to fear, to doubt, there was only the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and that Word still speaks within you, not in thunder, but in stillness. I manifested $68 million, not in effort, not in desperation, but in stillness, with 3 words that did not command the universe, but asterisk, revealed it asterisk. And those same 3 words are already forming themselves on the back of your tongue. But before you try to grasp them, before you seek to repeat or control them, you must understand something deeper, far deeper than words. You are not here to learn how to get. You are here to remember how to asterisk, be asterisk. You do not manifest what you want. You manifest what you asterisk are asterisk. The secret was never in the asking. It was always in the assumption. And assumption is not fantasy. It is faith embodied. It is knowing in your bones that the unseen is more real than the seen. It is sleeping tonight in the bed of your fulfilled desire, even if the world still sees you in rags. Most assume imagination is pretend, but the divine truth is imagination is asterisk, creation asterisk, not symbolic, not poetic, literal. For what you accept in imagination, you will meet in experience, not as reward, but as reflection. Consciousness is the only reality, and the world you see is the mirror held to your inner speech. Change the speaking, and you change the reflection. And all this happens not with effort, but with surrender. The moment I stopped trying to get the money, it came. The moment I became the one for whom it was already done, it rushed to meet me like a long-lost lover. I didn't chase it, I remembered it. For there is no future in God, only the eternal now. And when you dwell in the end becomes the beginning. When you live as though it were already true, life bows to your conviction. But this brings us to what most never realize. There is a sacred order in this invisible act, a pattern so simple, it is overlooked by the striving. I did not repeat affirmations to convince myself. I was not hypnotizing the world. I was awakening to the truth I had buried beneath fear. I was remembering that I and my Father are one, and that whatsoever I ask, believing I have received, I asterisk already have asterisk. And so the 3 words came, not from thought, but from silence, not from logic, but from surrender. They did not arise from a need to change the world, but from the still knowing that I asterisk am asterisk the world, dreaming itself. They came like breath returning to the body, after long exile, and when they came, I felt no fireworks, only peace, the kind of peace that stills storms. Feel the quiet in you now, the space between your thoughts. That is where the power lives. That is where the seed of creation rests in perfect patience, waiting for your agreement, not your effort, your agreement. It does not need you to struggle. It only needs you to say yes, not with words, but with being. Do not strain to guess the 3 words. That is the mind's game. The mind does not create. It only rearranges. But the Spirit reveals. And what it reveals is always simple, always already known, always clothed in the soft gold of your own remembering. Notice what shifts in you as you hear this. A loosening, a softening, a sense that the miracle is not coming. It is here. The treasure is not hidden. It is in your hands. And yet what if even this is not the whole mystery? What if the words themselves are not magic, but a doorway into something even greater? Which brings us to the deeper paradox, hidden in plain sight. And so you stand before the veil, the moment just before awakening, where time folds into itself, and the breath of God brushes against your cheek like memory. You sensed it as I spoke those last words, not in the syllables themselves, but in the stillness they uncovered, that sacred quiet that lingers not in the mind, but in the marrow. It knows what your intellect cannot. It holds what your striving has forgotten. The mystery is not in the 3 words. The mystery is that you asterisk are asterisk, the Word made flesh. You do not need to learn what to say. You need only remember who is speaking. What if the words themselves were not tools, but mirrors? What if they do not create reality, but confirm it. Illuminate the truth that has always been humming beneath the noise. You whisper them not to make something happen, but to reveal what already is and in that revelation, the world bends, quietly, obediently, unfailingly. For the truth is this: all things already exist, nothing is being created, everything is being selected creation is finished. Your task is not to build from dust, but to align with what already is waiting for your assumption to breathe life into it. And so I did not chase money. I assumed the state of one who has not as fantasy, but as dwelling. I walked the earth as though it had already been given unto me. I did not wait for signs. I became the sign. I did not look for evidence. I embodied the evidence, and the outer world, bound to reflect the inner speech, yielded like clay beneath the potter's hand. The three words rose from that dwelling. They were not shouted. They were whispered, so soft, so sure. They almost felt like silence, but that silence was the voice of God. For the kingdom of God cometh not with observation, neither shall they say, Lo here, or Lo there, for behold, the kingdom of God is within you. Can you feel it now? The trembling of that inner kingdom awakening, the shift from seeking to being. Let your breath slow, let your body soften. You are not listening for information. You are listening for remembrance. Each time I spoke those words, not with force, but with knowing, I returned home, not to a place, but to a state where money is not a hope, but a certainty, not earned, but accepted, not begged for, but assumed. The world teaches you to qualify yourself. It says you must prove, achieve, sacrifice. But the law says only, assume, believe that you have received, feel it real, and let the feeling do the work. This is not theory, this is law, and the law does not sleep. It does not judge your worthiness. It mirrors your assumption, without question, without fail. So what were the three words? You may think you want to know, but the deeper truth is, you want to become the one for whom those words are already alive, for whom wealth is not a question, but a fact. That is what those words did. They confirmed identity, not desire. They made me see myself as already in possession not waiting, not hoping, possessing. Feel that now. What would it be like to no longer reach for it, but to rest in it? What would shift in your walk, your breath, your posture, if you were already the one, not becoming rich, but being wealth itself not moving toward the dream, but waking up within it, There is no distance between you and the fulfilled desire, only the illusion of time, of doubt, of effort. Strip those away, and what remains? You, already there, already home. But there is one more veil to lift, one more forgetting to remember. And as that final veil begins to dissolve, not with struggle but with surrender, a deeper quiet unfolds inside you, like the hush that falls just before the dawn touches the horizon. It isn't a silence of absence, but of fullness, a presence so complete, it speaks without sound. You are standing at the threshold of your own remembrance, not as a seeker, but as the source. For the illusion of distance has always been the dream. There was never a gap between you and your desire, only the shadow cast by a false identity. You wore lack like a garment, believing it to be your skin. But now the robe of remembrance rests upon your shoulders, and the garment of the old man begins to fall away. The final veil is forgetfulness, forgetting that you are the cause, forgetting that the world you see is your own echo, that every appearance is the shadow of an inner state, and every shadow can only move when the light within shifts. The moment I remembered this, not intellectually, but as a felt truth, everything changed. I did not need to manipulate the external. I did not chase after opportunities or seek permission from the world. I returned inward to the throne of my assumption and sat there as one already crowned. I spoke the words not to the world, but from the world within me, and what I spoke, I saw, not because I earned it, but because I remembered it. The three words were not a ritual. They were a revelation, not a chant, but a claiming. And yet even they are not the power. The power is in the identity they reflect. When you speak from the state of fulfillment, your words are not commands, they are confirmations. You are not trying to bring something into being. You are declaring what already is. The world responds not to your plea, but to your position. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you assume yourself to be asterisk. If you are still trying, still reaching, then you are affirming that you do not yet possess. But when you rest in the assumption that it is done, the bridge of incidence appears, not by your effort, but by law. There is no magic in the outer act. It is the inner movement that births the miracle. When I whispered the 3 words, I felt the shift. I no longer identified with the one who wanted. I became the one who already had. Not with arrogance, but with peace. Not with force, but with stillness. And in that stillness, I heard the echo of scripture. Let the weak say, I am strong. Not asterisk, I will be asterisk. Not asterisk, I hope to be asterisk. But asterisk, I am asterisk. The declaration is the doorway. The assumption is the path. The feeling is the prayer. Feel this now not as concept, but as breath. Not as theory, but as being. Imagine yourself already fulfilled. Not as fantasy, but as homecoming. What does your body do when it no longer hungers? What does your mind speak when it no longer doubts? What does your inner world reflect when it no longer waits? This is the practice. Not repeating words to force belief, but returning again and again to the state of the wish fulfilled. Dwelling there, not visiting. Sleeping there, not peeking. Breathing there, not bargaining. Until the dream you once chased becomes the ground beneath your feet. You do not need to force the result. The seed knows how to bloom. Your only task is to assume the harvest, to walk as though the fruit is already yours. And the moment you truly do, everything begins to rearrange. People call it luck, coincidence, favor, but you remember, because you are not watching a miracle happen. You are watching your assumption take form. And yet even now, there is a deeper layer, a more sacred unveiling still to come. And just as you begin to rest in the knowing that your assumption shapes the world, another whisper begins to stir, soft to still, like a ripple moving across still water under starlight. It is not a voice you hear with ears but with presence. It comes not from outside, but from the innermost chamber of your being, the Holy of Holies, where the eternal I Am speaks without sound. This is the unveiling few speak of, not because it is hidden, but because it is too simple, too still, too close. The final layer is not about having, it is about being. For even as you assume the state of one who possesses the wealth, the love, the peace, there is a deeper truth. You are not just the possessor, you are the asterisk source asterisk. The world appears to give to you, but it only mirrors what flows from you. You believed the treasure was outside, waiting to be found, but you are the treasure house, the vault, the infinite. You are not a beggar at the gates of reality. You are the architect, the builder, and the gate itself. To manifest 68 million was never about attracting a number. It was about releasing the illusion that I was separate from abundance. The wealth didn't come to me. It unfolded asterisk through asterisk me. As a reflection of the inner agreement I finally dared to hold, the world simply rearranged to match the new vibration of my being. I did not wait for it. I asterisk became asterisk it. And those 3 words, so gentle, so potent, they did not cause the miracle. They revealed the self who had already received. They opened the door not to something new, but to the truth that had been waiting behind the noise of doubt. They did not bring light. They removed the veil that once hid it. Feel into this. You are not here to get something. You are here to asterisk. Remember what you are asterisk. The power to manifest is not something you apply. It is something you asterisk uncover asterisk. And when you uncover it, the world bows. Not because you are special, but because you are aligned. Not because you deserve it, but because it is asterisk already yours asterisk. It is not about earning. It is about embodiment. When I repeated the words, I was not asking. I was returning. I was stepping back into the temple where the truth had never left. That temple is within you, and its altar is feeling. Your assumption is the incense, your inner speech, the sacred chant, and your faith, the faith that it is already done, is the holy fire. Before they call, I will answer, and while they are yet speaking, I will hear. These words are not metaphor. They are law. The end you assume is already echoing through your world, but you must dwell there, not as a visitor, but as a resident, a citizen of the fulfilled promise. So what were the 3 words? You'll come to know, but not from hearing them, from asterisk becoming asterisk them. They will rise not from thought, but from stillness, not from repetition, but from alignment. They are different for each, yet the same in essence. They are always simple, always complete. They come only when the self is ready to accept not just the gift, but the identity that allows it. Until then you must listen beneath the surface, not to the noise, but to the rhythm, not to the teaching, but to the remembrance. Feel the shift as you surrender effort. Let your breath slow. Let your heart rest in the knowing that you are not trying to become. You are revealing what has always been true. And just when you begin to think you've uncovered the deepest layer, a new revelation begins to glow from beneath the silence. And as that new glow begins to rise, it does not announce itself with brilliance, but with warmth, subtle, tender, like light pressing through closed eyelids at dawn. It does not demand your attention. It invites your surrender. For what comes next cannot be grasped with effort. It must be allowed. It must be felt asterisk. You are not here to gather more truths, but to become transparent enough that truth reveals itself through you. The revelation is not added to you. It is uncovered from you. Like a sculptor, removing all that is not the form, so must you strip away every belief that says you are anything less than divine. I manifested the millions not because I was finally worthy or finally lucky. I manifested them when I released the lie that I was ever without them. I let go of time. I let go of effort. I let go of waiting. And in the absence of striving, there was only being, and being is the secret. You do not need to become rich. You need only to stop identifying as poor. You do not need to move toward the dream. You need only to stop standing apart from it. The assumption is not a technique. It is the true self remembered. And the 3 words, they were never about commanding reality. They were about dissolving the illusion that I was separate from it. Every time I spoke them, something melted. A wall, a weight, a war inside me. Not because they were magic, but because I believed them, because I felt them, because they returned me to the one who no longer sought, but knew. And what was known was this: nothing is missing. There is no lack in the kingdom, no delay in the divine, only the echo of your inner state, playing itself out upon the screen of time. You have been told to work, to earn, to sacrifice. But I tell you this, all the work has already been done, all the riches already exist, and the only thing required of you is acceptance, But acceptance must be total, not passive, but embodied. You must walk as one who is already fulfilled. You must feel as though it were already so, and that feeling must become your dwelling, not your momentary glimpse, but your continuous place of rest. When I say I manifested, I do not mean I caused something to happen. I mean I matched what already existed. I stepped into alignment with a version of myself that was already living that reality, and the outer world simply followed suit. For the outer is never first. The inner is always the cause. Let this soak into you now. Let your breath soften. Let your mind loosen its grip. Feel the gentle shift in your chest as you imagine yourself not waiting, but having. Not hoping, but holding. Not trying, but trusting. That is the real substance. That is the true currency. You are the operant power. You do not need permission. You need not explain yourself to the world. The world is your shadow. You are not here to chase, but to declare And your declaration must be felt, not forced. Your assumption must be alive, not performed. Let go of the timeline. Let go of the outer signs. Return inward, again and again, until the inner state is so natural, it no longer feels imagined, it feels remembered. And in that remembrance, the words will come, not from desire, but from peace. Not from seeking, but from stillness. You will know them, not because they are clever, but because they feel like home. And when you speak them, it will not feel like casting a spell. It will feel like exhaling something you've held for lifetimes. And just as you settle into the rhythm of that breath, another whisper arises, not from the mind, but from the place beneath it, the place where the real creation begins. And just beneath that breath, beneath the hush of effort and the final crumbling of resistance, there it is, the sanctuary. Not built by hands, not bound by form, but eternal, sacred. It does not ask you to enter, it waits for you to remember that you never left, you were always here. The noise of the world only dimmed the awareness of it. This is where true creation begins, not in thought, not in action, but in asterisk identity, asterisk. The self you assume to be is the soil from which all things grow. You do not need more power, you need only to stop misidentifying yourself. The moment you assume the state of the one who has, everything begins to echo that knowing. And the echo is your experience. It is not about commanding money or chasing success. It is about dwelling in the truth that you are the one for whom those things are natural, inevitable, unquestioned. I did not become someone new. I uncovered who I already was. The wealth was always near, waiting not to be summoned, but recognized. Each time I whispered the 3 words, I was not adding something to myself. I was stripping away illusion, stripping away the doubt that clung like a second skin, stripping away the timeline, the ifs, the fears, until only I am remained. And from that I am, all things flow. For when Moses asked, "What is your name?" the voice from the burning bush answered, "I am that I am." This is not history, this is identity, this is your inheritance, and you use it every day, whether you know it or not. I am rich, I am poor, I am afraid, I am powerful. Whatever follows the I am shapes the pattern, not by chance, but by law. The universe is not responding to your words. It is responding to the feeling of being you consistently inhabit. So when I chose the 3 words, I didn't choose them to persuade the universe. I chose them to anchor myself, in the state of the fulfilled desire. I chose them to keep my mind from wandering back into the illusion of lack. I chose them to remain awake within the dream. And in choosing them, I chose myself. What would happen if you stopped reaching for your manifestation as something outside yourself? What would awaken if you began to speak, walk, breathe from the conviction that it was already yours? Not someday, not eventually. Now, feel it. Feel the shift as you take ownership, not by force, but by quiet agreement. The agreement that says, this is who I am now, not because of the evidence, but because of the choice. That is the holy act. That is the sacred offering. The world asks for reasons. God asks only that you believe and belief is not passive. It is persistent. It is not pleading. It is possession. Possess it now, in the imaginal act, in the feeling of certainty. Possess it by becoming it. Let your spine relax into the posture of one who no longer wonders if it's coming. Let your eyes close in the peace of one who already knows, and you will begin to see it. Not because your outer world has changed, but because you have. You will look at your life, and where once there was doubt, there is now clarity. Where once there was striving, there is flow. And where once there was separation, there is union. Because the 3 words are not the key, you are the key, and those words, they simply unlock the door to a version of you who never questioned, who never reached, who never begged. They return you to the moment before the fall, before you believed you were separate from your source. And just as you begin to feel that union settling deep into your chest, a memory stirs, something older than words, yet wrapped in language, waiting to be revealed. And as that memory stirs, it does not rise like a thought, but like a fragrance, familiar, sacred, stirring something deep in the soul you had forgotten was still awake. It brushes your awareness, like the hem of a garment, subtle but certain, and something within you leans closer. Not to chase, but to receive. Not to grasp, but to yield. For the truth was never far. It was simply veiled beneath layers of trying, layers of doing, layers of becoming. But the treasure does not require your labor. It waits quietly for your surrender. It asks only that you stop pretending you are not already whole. The memory is this: you have always been the source. The river does not search for water. The flame does not ask for fire. And you, created in the image of I am, do not need to seek what is already in your name. You simply forgot. You wandered into the illusion of time and wrapped yourself in the garments of separation. But now, slowly, gracefully, you are remembering your inheritance. I did not manifest millions because I discovered a trick. I manifested them because I stopped doubting my divine identity. I allowed myself to dwell where the promise already lived. I ceased to wrestle with the shadow and turned my face toward the light within. The 3 words were never about force. They were about resonance. Each syllable matched the vibration of the self I chose to embody. Each repetition drew me deeper into that state, not like falling asleep, but like waking up from the long dream of not enough. You do not need to wait for a sign. You are the sign. The moment you align inwardly, the outer must conform, for it has no choice. The outer is not the cause. It is the echo. It is the reflection in the still water of your inner state, and the water cannot reflect what you refuse to assume. Feel the invitation now, not to effort, but to embodiment, not to climb, but to return to that inner sanctuary, that silent garden, where the vine already bears fruit, and the fig tree does not wait for the season. All that the Father hath is mine, said the Christ within, and he did not speak as one hoping, but as one knowing. This knowing is your refuge. This feeling is your fortress, not made of stone, but of state. When you dwell in the state of the wish fulfilled, you are unshakable, not because the world changes first, but because you no longer require it to. You are free from the tyranny of appearances. You no longer beg the mirror to smile. You smile first, and the world reflects that joy. This is the pathless path, the gentle paradox. You get not by chasing, but by becoming asterisk. You become not by striving, but by surrendering. You surrender not to lack, but to truth. And the truth is the thing you desire is already yours. Not someday, not after. Now close your eyes, if they are not closed already. Let your breath fall into rhythm with the unseen. Imagine, just for a moment, that there is nothing to fix, nothing to solve, nothing to attract. There is only the unveiling, the relaxing, the remembrance. You speak the three words not to change anything. You speak them to asterisk. Feel yourself home again asterisk. And from that home, all things come. They are drawn not to your need, but to your certainty. For need repels, but assumption invites. And the assumed state is always honored, whether you are aware of it or not. So choose now, not with willpower, but with peace. Choose the state you wish to occupy. Let it wrap around you like a robe of light. Let it rest upon your shoulders like a mantle of ease. Walk in it, speak from it, sleep within it, and you will awaken into the life that matches it. And even now, as you settle into that holy feeling, there is a new softness on the horizon, something unspoken that longs to rise and reveal itself, not in explanation, but in embodiment. And that softness, like mist rising from still waters at first light, does not explain itself. It simply is. You feel it before you can name it, a presence before thought, a knowing before language. It asks nothing of you but your willingness to remain still long enough to hear what's always been speaking in the silence. Not a command, a calling. This is where manifestation begins to shed its illusion of effort and becomes a dance of remembrance. You're no longer trying to make something happen. You're allowing what asterisk is asterisk to be seen, unveiled, embodied. There is no longer the friction of becoming. There is only the relaxation into being. When I repeated those three words, again and again like a gentle tide returning to the shore, I wasn't speaking to the world. I was speaking to myself, to the self beyond doubt, beyond story, beyond separation. I was speaking from the inner sanctuary where all things are already finished, where all is now. And as I spoke them, not with urgency, but with devotion, I felt my identity shift, not into someone new, but into someone remembered. The one who never questioned her place at the table, the one who never pleaded with the heavens because she was the heavens in form, the one for whom abundance was not a miracle, but a mirror. That's what you are reclaiming, not an outcome, but a recognition. The outer world will call it money, or success, or achievement, but inwardly, you know the truth. What you have truly claimed is your own divinity. The thing you sought was never outside. It was buried beneath layers of forgetting. And now gently, you are brushing away the dust. Let this truth settle in you. The more you identify with lack, the more you experience delay, not as punishment, but as reflection. For the law is impersonal. It responds not to your longing, but to your assumption. It is not moved by your need, but by your knowing. You must move first, not with action, but with identity. The outer will catch up. It always does. And when it does, it arrives not with chaos, but with ease, not with strain, but with synchronicity. People will marvel. They'll ask how it happened, but you'll know it was always happening. The moment I chose to dwell in the end, you dwell there now. Feel it. The atmosphere of completion, the fragrance of fulfillment, the stillness that comes when there is nothing left to chase. That is your home. And the three words, they are the key that fits only that door. They are not to be used like magic. They are to be spoken like truth. This is why they came to me in a moment of stillness, not of seeking, but of surrender. They were not asked for. They arose, and when they did, They felt like breath returning to lungs that had forgotten they knew how to breathe. Effortless, familiar, true. Can you feel that rising in you now? Not a thought, but a tone. Not a phrase, but a frequency. Something soft yet undeniable. It stirs behind your ribs, not needing to be understood, only honored. This is not performance, it is presence. And from that presence, all things are drawn. Not because you chase them, but because you have become the one they belong to. That is the nature of assumption. It does not ask. It is asterisk. It does not wonder. It declares asterisk. And the world bows not to the noise of your desire, but to the silence of your conviction. Let that silence deepen. Let it expand. Rest in it like a child, in the arms of the eternal. There is nothing more to do. There is only this, to remain in the state, until the state becomes natural, until the dream no longer feels imagined, but remembered. And as you rest there, quietly, faithfully, something begins to form just behind the stillness, not in your mind, but in your knowing, a clarity rising through the veil, ready to name itself. And that clarity, delicate as morning dew, and just as inevitable, begins to shape itself, not as something added, but as something uncovered. It rises not to announce, but to affirm. It carries no urgency, for it is not trying to prove. It is simply becoming visible, because you are finally still enough to see it. This is the revelation hidden in plain sight. The words you speak are less about sound and more about state. They matter not because they are powerful in themselves, but because they reflect what you have accepted as true. You do not manifest what you affirm. You manifest what you believe asterisk. And belief is a feeling clothed in assumption. That is why the three words worked, not because they were secret, but because they became sacred. They were not recited like a charm. They were breathed like a vow, spoken not to convince, but to align. And in that alignment the bridge to 68 million appeared, not as magic, but as obedience. The world is always obeying your inner conviction. So the real question is not, what are the words? The real question is, who are you when you speak them? Do you speak them as one still hoping, or as one who has already received? Do you whisper them as a wish, or declare them from the throne of fulfillment? This is the holy split between effort and embodiment, and only one leads to the unfolding of the promise. It was not until I stopped using the words to get, and began using them to be asterisk, that everything turned. They were no longer tools, they were reflections. I was not trying to bring something about. I was choosing to see myself rightly asterisk. The moment I assumed that identity, the external, could do nothing but echo it. Ye shall know them by their fruits. And the fruit of assumption is always visible, though not always immediate. The delay you perceive is not punishment, it is mercy. It gives you space to dwell fully in the state, to let it take root, to become so identified with it that nothing can shake you. And when you are unshakable inwardly, the world must yield outwardly. Let this understanding root itself in you now, not as concept, but as rhythm. Let your breath slow until it matches the stillness of the truth beneath all things. You are already what you seek. The fulfillment lives in you as a living seed, and the words, when spoken in alignment, are simply water. Do not strain for them. Let them rise. They may not sound grand. They may not impress the intellect, but you will know them by the way they settle into your body, like returning to a place you had forgotten you missed. They will not excite you. They will anchor, you. Feel for that anchoring now. Sense the weight of knowing, descending gently upon your shoulders, steadying your steps, slowing your breath. This is what it means to live in the end. Not pretending, but presenting. Not fantasizing, but fulfilling. And in this fulfillment, time bends, circumstances shift. What once seemed impossible begins to unfold with ease. Not because you forced the world, but because you released your resistance to being the one for whom it is already done asterisk. This is the posture of grace. This is the prayer without words. And the three words you speak from here will be different, not because the words themselves change, but because the self who speaks them has changed. So when you ask again, what were the three words? Know this, they are not meant to be copied. They are meant to be discovered. Felt. Spoken from your own state of embodiment. And when you find them, you will not doubt. You will not rush to share them. You will sit in the silence they create, and watch as everything begins to move. And in that stillness, something ancient begins to open its eyes within you. Not just the answer, but the origin. Not just the phrase, but the presence that gives it power. And as that ancient presence opens its eyes within you, something beyond language begins to stir. It is not a thought. It is not even a feeling in the ordinary sense. It is a recognition, quiet, vast, undeniable. The kind of knowing that doesn't ask for proof, because it asterisk is asterisk the proof. And in its gaze, the illusion of needing anything at all begins to dissolve. You were never incomplete. You were never waiting. You were never separate. These were stories told by the outer world, echoed in the hollow chambers of disbelief. But now, with every breath, those chambers empty, and in their place, a deeper sound emerges, the voice of the I Am, clothed in stillness, moving without motion. This is the moment where identity merges with reality, where assumption ceases to be an act and becomes your atmosphere. You no longer repeat the words as ritual. You speak them as revelation. They are not a spell. They are a mirror, and what they reflect is not your desire, but your decision. I had spoken them countless times before they opened the door, but it wasn't the number, it wasn't even the repetition. It was the moment I said them, and asterisk believed them completely. Asterisk. No part of me reached beyond them, no part of me questioned their truth. I didn't look outside for confirmation. I felt the world already changed, and so it changed. For what you feel as real will harden into fact. Not by effort, but by law. Not by force, but by agreement. Can you feel that truth in your bones now? That quiet certainty that the outer world is your servant, not your master. That circumstances are not sovereign. You are asterisk. This is not arrogance. It is alignment. And the one who is aligned makes no demands. He assumes, and the world fulfills. Let that settle into your breath. Let your spine soften under the weightlessness of remembering. You do not have to be strong. You do not have to try. You only have to asterisk the asterisk, and the being itself will draw all things unto it, in perfect order, with perfect timing. Be still, and know that I am God. This is not advice. It is instruction. It is blueprint. Stillness is not absence of movement. It is the fullness of presence, the sacred tension of already having, the soft insistence that the inner state is final, that what you feel now is what the world will soon reflect. So you say the words, not as a reaching, but as a resting. You speak them like someone who has arrived, not hoping to convince, but content to asterisk. No asterisk. You no longer need to rush. You no longer fear delay, because you understand that the seed knows its own hour, and your only task is to remain in the soil of fulfillment, long enough for the bloom to appear. Let the words be simple. Let them be soft. They may not impress the intellect, but they will stir the spirit. And when they are spoken from truth, they will not echo. They will asterisk create asterisk. They will move unseen hands. They will rearrange the stage of your life, without noise, without effort, without explanation. This is why others will wonder. They'll ask what you did, and you will smile, because you know you didn't adult. You asterisk became asterisk. You chose the end. You assumed the self, and you dwelled there without needing to prove anything to anyone. And that was enough. Feel now the edge of that revelation, like a doorway within you, waiting to be stepped through. You are not far from it. You are brushing against it. Every time you return to the feeling of it already being done, you are circling closer. Every time you lay down the tools and surrender to the truth that it is finished. And just as your heart begins to rest in that knowing, a new impulse begins to rise, not from the mind, but from the mystery behind the veil, and it carries with it the echo of something you have always known, but are only now ready to hear. And that impulse rising from the mystery, it does not demand your attention. It draws it gently, the way a flame draws the eye in the quiet of night. You don't chase it. You lean into it. You yield, not because you are weak, but because you are asterisk, ready asterisk. It feels like a returning, and yet deeper still, it feels like you are arriving somewhere you never left. The whisper that carried through all your doubts now becomes a song, not loud, but steady, a vibration more than a sound. You don't need to understand it. You only need to let it move through you, because this is what you've always known. Underneath every question, that your world is shaped, not by what happens to you, but by who you agree you are. This is the core of it, the law beneath all laws. Identity is destiny, not the identity given to you by birth, by circumstance, by history, but the identity you asterisk assume asterisk as true, and assumption, when persisted in, becomes incarnation. You don't get what you want. You get what you asterisk are asterisk. The outer world is not a test. It is not a judge. It is a mirror, and mirrors do not lie. They only reflect. When I embodied wealth, not as concept, not as future, but as present, as breath, as identity, the mirror shifted, not slowly, instantly. But the shift was not visible until I no longer needed to look for it. That's the paradox. The moment you no longer require the evidence is when it begins to show, because the absence of need is the presence of assumption, and assumption is the womb of the world. The three words I spoke, they were not designed to attract. They were meant to anchor. They held me steady, in the midst of appearances that still screamed lack. But I had turned away from appearances. I no longer sought their permission. I had found something greater. I had found alignment. And from that alignment, money came. But it came not as reward. It came as reflection. Let that land in you. Let it slow your breathing. You don't have to chase the thing. You only have to become the version of you who already has it. Speak from that place. Think from that place. Rest in that place. And the world will move around you like water forming to the shape of your being. You are not in the world. The world is in you. You do not rise to meet it. It rises to match you. This is not poetic metaphor. This is spiritual mechanics. According to your faith, be it unto you. Not according to your works. Not according to your timeline. But according to your faith. Your deep settled, quiet knowing that what you are inwardly being must be made manifest outwardly. Feel the relief of that truth. You do not have to convince. You only have to consent. Consent to the reality of the thing you desire. Accept it so completely that there is no room for contradiction, no space for hesitation, no breath wasted on doubt. I manifested 68 million, not because I finally figured something out, but because I finally stopped needing to . The words came not from effort, but from stillness. And in that stillness, I found myself. I saw clearly, perhaps for the first time, that the door was never locked. I simply hadn't realized I was already holding the key. And when I turned it, not by force, but by feeling, the door did not swing open with noise. It simply wasn't there anymore. I had stepped into the state, and the outer had no choice but to meet me there. So now you feel it too, that trembling behind your ribs, that awareness forming beneath the words. You may not yet know what it is, but you can sense its nearness, its inevitability. And just as you begin to yield fully to it, something ancient begins to speak, not in voice, but in vibration, a remembering so sacred, it cannot be rushed, a phrase forming, not in your mind, but in your being, quietly preparing to be revealed. And that phrase forming now, not in thought, but in vibration, waits in the stillness just behind your awareness, like a name long forgotten but never erased. It does not rush, it does not demand, it waits, because it knows it is already yours. It knows you will remember it, when you no longer seek it from outside yourself. This is the quiet threshold between wanting and being, between imagining and embodying, the space where the promise is no longer a hope but a fact, and all striving begins to soften into rest. You no longer ask, when will it come? Instead you feel, it is already here, not in theory, in feeling, in breath, in being. This is what I learned as the millions appeared, not in chaos, not in spectacle, but in order, in rhythm, in reflection. The law does not make exceptions. It does not bless the worthy and withhold from the flawed. It reflects the assumed state. It mirrors the inner decree. When I said the words, I wasn't speaking to money. I wasn't calling to some distant future. I was agreeing with a version of myself that already lived in the end. The words were the bridge, but the being was the power. The frequency of those words matched the identity I had finally dared to wear. And that identity changed everything. Not because the world shifted first, but because I no longer required it to. I had chosen the inner kingdom, and the outer world, always obedient, adjusted itself to match. Let this truth settle over you, like a soft veil. Nothing is being created. It is all already finished. All possibilities already exist. Your desire is not something new. It is a memory, a glimpse of a self you've already been, already known, already embodied in the field beyond time. So the question is not, how do I make it happen? The question is, am I willing to assume that it already has? And that assumption must be full, without wobble, without wavering. You must live there, walk there, sleep there. You must make your home in the feeling of the fulfilled. And in that home, you speak, not with doubt, not with desperation, but with divine certainty. The words may be whispered, or they may never leave your lips, but they live in you like fire wrapped in silence. That is when you know they are real. Feel it now, that holy space inside you, opening without force, a doorway that needs no handle, because you are already on the other side. You are not reaching for abundance. You are remembering that you are abundance. And the moment that memory becomes your mood, the world confirms it. This is the way. This is the mystery of God's name dwelling in you. When you say I am, you are not describing yourself. You are creating yourself. You are taking the formless and giving it shape, not with action, but with identity. I am is the beginning. What follows is the world you will walk in. Let your words now be few, but true. Let them rise only when they are clothed in feeling. Let them come from stillness, not strain. And when they do, you will feel the resonance, not of sound, but of reality aligning. You are not speaking for results. You are speaking from the result. That is the power. That is the law. And even now, as the energy of that truth moves through you, you begin to sense the shape of the words that changed my life. Not just the meaning, but the tone, the texture, and the sacred place within you, from which they must be spoken. And now you begin to feel the words take shape, not as something heard, but as something remembered. They do not rise from the mind. They rise from the deep stillness beneath it, like a tide that does not rush, but always returns. You don't need to catch them. You need only to become the self for whom they arise naturally, as breath, as truth, as identity. Because the words are not separate from you. They are you. They are your agreement with the state you have chosen to occupy. And when the agreement is full, the world cannot help but obey. I did not speak them as a command. I did not shout them into the wind, hoping it would carry them far enough to reach the heavens. I spoke them the way you breathe, when you are safe, quietly, deeply, without thinking, without needing. Because when you are the thing, you do not ask for it. You reveal it. That is why these words carried power, not by volume, not by repetition, but by alignment. And that alignment required one thing only, the courage to stop asking, and to start being. You are not a beggar at the gate. You are the gate. You are not outside the kingdom. You are its breath, its rhythm, its light. And when you assume your place, the kingdom assumes its form around you. I remember the moment clearly, though it came without spectacle. It was evening, and everything in the outer world still looked the same. The numbers in the account hadn't changed. The world had not yet shown the fruit, but inside the garden had already bloomed. Inside I knew, and so I said them. 3 words, simple, direct, alive. And the moment I spoke them, I felt the shift, not outside, but within, a falling away of doubt, a dissolving of distance, a merging. I no longer hoped to have, I no longer tried to believe. Was that was the difference. Most people live in a holding pattern, trying to believe, trying to visualize, trying to feel it real. But trying is the language of lack. It keeps the thing distant. It affirms that it is not yet yours. But the law does not respond to your effort. It responds to your essence. What are you being now? Not what are you doing? Not what are you saying? What are you being? Feel into that now. Let it be honest. Let it be soft. You cannot lie to the law, for the law is not listening to your words. It is listening to your feeling. Your inner conviction is the substance. The outer world is only the shadow it casts. And so I lived in the feeling of the end. I walked through the same house, but I saw wealth in the walls. I wore the same clothes, but I felt royalty on my skin. I stood in lines, answered emails, poured tea, but I did it all as one who already had. That feeling grew roots. It wrapped around my imagination like a vine around sacred stone, until one day the numbers changed, the calls came, the agreements were signed, the bridges were crossed. But by then it didn't surprise me, because I was not becoming the one who had it. I had been that one for weeks, and the outer was simply catching up. That is what the 3 words did. They planted me in that identity, not as fantasy, but as fact. And as you sit here now, you feel them nearing, not like something to learn, but like something to remember. You don't need to guess. You don't need to force. Just listen, beneath the breath, beneath the thought. They're almost here, almost ready to rise. And when they do, you'll know them not by sound, but by how they settle in your bones like home. And now they begin to rise. Not in a rush, not with fanfare, but with the sacred quiet of something that has always been true. There's no need to speak them aloud. You feel them forming, not on your lips, but in your spirit. not to convince, but to confirm. And in their simplicity, a strange power pulses, soft as moonlight, firm as truth. You do not chase these words. They emerge from you because you have finally become the one they belong to. 3 words. They may seem small to the mind, but to the soul, they are thunder. To the mirror of life, they are law. They are not a spell to be cast. They are a state to be lived. And when they first came, I knew I was not learning them. I was remembering them, like a song once sung in a dream, like a promise I made to myself before time began. They were not designed to summon the millions. They were designed to reveal that I had already been the one who possessed it. That it was never about getting, it was always about knowing and the knowing became feeling, and the feeling became fact. It didn't matter what the bank said. It didn't matter what the world believed. I had seen the end, and I walked in it, and those 3 words became my sacred echo, my agreement with the unseen, spoken with the calm of one who knows the ship has already docked, even if the sails have not yet come into view. They were not affirmations in the usual sense. I wasn't trying to override fear. I wasn't trying to drown out doubt. I had stopped trying. These were not words of war. They were words of peace, words I could sleep inside, words that held me like a cloak. They asked nothing from the world. They asked everything from me. Can you feel your own version of them now, just beneath your breath, waiting not to be repeated, but inhabited because the law is clear. You do not manifest what you want. You manifest what you are, what you assume yourself to be, consistently, without wobble, without apology. The world will test you, only to reveal what still wavers in you. And once your assumption is solid, once your foundation is laid, the outer must conform. It has no choice. It never did. These words carried that finality, that inward confidence that needs no explanation. I would rise in the morning and feel them before I reached for thought. I would walk through the day and hear them pulsing in the background, steady as breath. They were not mantras. They were identity, and they changed the world. Not because they had power in themselves, but because I gave them the authority of embodiment. And embodiment bends time. It melts delay. It dissolves the illusion of how, and makes way for the inevitable. That's what the money was, inevitable. That's what the money was, inevitable. It showed up not because I chased it, but because I became the one for whom it was natural. The world could not help but reflect that version of me, because I no longer doubted that he was real. He had taken over. I had yielded, and the yielding was the miracle. So listen now, not for sound, but for truth. The words you seek are not hidden. They are waiting inside the version of you that no longer questions. And when you slip into that state, they will rise. And when they rise, they will not beg. They will declare, and the world will answer. Feel the presence of that version of you now, the one who has, the one who knows, the one who breathes ease like air, and rests in the knowing that nothing is missing. Let that self whisper. Let those 3 words form without effort. And as they do, let the veil grow thinner still. For beyond the words is the one who speaks them. And that is the deepest mystery of all. And beyond the words you begin to feel it, the presence of the one who speaks them. Not the persona you wear in the world, not the self shaped by circumstance or memory, but the eternal one, the original essence. The I am before names, before form, before fear. The one who does not manifest things but becomes them, effortlessly, quietly by being. This is where the mystery deepens, because it was never truly about the 3 words. It was about the one who could speak them from the end. And when that version of you awakens, when that self rises, nothing is withheld. Not because you earned it, not because you persuaded reality, but because the law responds without hesitation to the identity you refuse to deny. I whispered the words one evening, like I had countless times before. But this time something was different. I wasn't hoping to feel them. I wasn't trying to convince myself. I was them, and from that vibration, everything changed. I walked through a world that hadn't yet shown the millions, but I was unmoved. I had already received. The bank account was still catching up. The numbers had not yet reflected the state, but I had ceased to worship evidence. I no longer needed proof. I was the proof, and that conviction was enough to call the world to attention. The moment you stop needing reality to show you who you are, and you show instead, that's when it bends. That's when the impossible arrives in silence. dressed like coincidence, wrapped in peace. It's tempting to think that this process is about repetition, that if you say something enough times, you'll make it true. But truth does not respond to volume. It responds to embodiment. You can repeat a lie forever and see nothing change. But the moment you speak a truth that aligns with your state, the world begins its quiet rearranging. Let the weak say, I am strong. The power is never in the evidence. It is in the declaration. The declaration made not from need, but from being. Not from effort, but from assumption. And that assumption must be worn like skin, so familiar, so natural, it no longer feels imagined. It simply is asterisk. Feel the edges of that self now, pressing softly against your current identity. It doesn't come to judge. It comes to invite asterisk. It doesn't demand you become something you're not. It reminds you of who you've always been beneath the forgetting. Let that version of you come closer. The one who needs no permission. The one who already knows the money is yours. Not because you've earned it, but because it flows where the belief is full. The world moves not for your desperation, but for your certainty. The moment you stop asking how, the door begins to open, because how is the language of the mind. But assumption belongs to the spirit, and spirit does not wait. Spirit is asterisk. So when I spoke those 3 words, and I will tell you soon, when the moment is quiet enough to hold them, I did not say them with trembling. I did not hope they would work. I did not look to the sky for signs. I said them the way a king closes his eyes at night, knowing the crown still rests beside his bed, with peace, with finality, with trust. You are not far from that peace now. You are not far from that crown. You are touching it with every breath that says, I already am. With every step taken not toward the thing, but from the thing. And as you rest deeper into that place, something begins to unfold, not just in feeling, not just in identity, but in form. It gathers now like clouds before rain, like fruit heavy with ripeness, ready to fall at the touch of faith. So let your faith touch it now, not by asking, but by knowing it is done. And as your faith touches it, not with strain, but with surrender, it begins to respond. Not as a thunderclap, but as a shift in the air, a turning of invisible gears behind the veil of form. You may not see it at first, but you'll feel it. The atmosphere thickens with certainty. The silence becomes charged with fulfillment. And in that stillness, something inside you smiles before the world has even caught up. This is the secret. Not to wait for the fruit to appear before you rejoice, but to rejoice because you are the tree, already bearing. You do not check the soil. You do not ask the season. You do not measure the branches. You no asterisk. I did not need the millions to feel wealthy. I became wealth in silence, and the millions followed. I did not chase the conditions. I assumed the cause, and the effect was inevitable. Not because I deserved it more than another, but because I claimed it inwardly, consistently, unshakably. You must become unshakable, not by force, but by intimacy with the feeling of the end. Let it be your home. Let it be your breath. Walk as if nothing is missing. Move as if everything has arrived. Think from the place where it already is, and you will never again have to think about when it will come. Before they call, I will answer. And while they are yet speaking, I will hear. This is not poetic comfort. This is exact law. The answer exists in the assumption. The manifestation begins the moment you dwell fully in the state of having. Not tomorrow. Not after the signs. Now. And the beauty is, the world will always give you a reason to doubt. It will test your resolve gently at first, then with louder echoes of your old state. But do not flinch. This is not a delay. This is the purification of your faith. This is the opportunity to persist in the unseen, to hold the identity long enough that the old shell cracks and the truth steps through. When I first felt the shift, it was not in my bank account. It was in the way I sat down, in the way I poured my tea, in the way I looked at my hands, and no longer saw a man waiting. I saw a man who had already received. And from that vision, the bridges began to build themselves. Unexpected calls. Delays turned to opportunities. Deals closed with ease. What looked like coincidence was only consciousness proving itself through time, because time is never the cause. It is the stage on which assumption becomes visible. You are not waiting. You are selecting. And the version of you who already lives in the outcome is to be occupied. Feel them now, not as imagination, but as invitation. Let them wrap around you like a cloak. Speak from them. Move from them. Think from them. This is your true identity, not the one formed by evidence, but the one revealed by choice. And from that choice, the words rise again. 3. Simple, inevitable. You do not need to hunt them. You need only be asterisk, the one who would say them without hesitation, without doubt, without need. Let your breath become soft. Let your mind grow still. The words you seek are not external. They are carved already into the foundation of your being. And soon, when you are quiet enough, when you have fully rested into the end, they will surface. And when they do, they will not feel like a tool. They will feel like a memory. They will feel like truth. And the world will echo them back to you in form, in timing, in riches, in joy. And even now you sense them coming closer, closer still, not to teach, but to remind asterisk. And in that reminder, your world begins to shift quietly, undeniably, into the shape of your inner word made flesh. And as the inner word begins to take form, you realize it isn't arriving, it's revealing. Not a guest knocking at your door, but a light rising from within your walls. The words don't come from above. They emerge from the depths. They do not descend from heaven. They ascend from the temple of your being, where heaven has always been. You are not learning them. You are remembering them. And the more you remember who you are, the more clearly you hear them. Not louder, but clearer. Not forceful, but true. This is why the outer world cannot give them to you. This is why no book, no mentor, no ritual can replace what must arise from within. Because your 3 words are only powerful when they are asterisk, yours asterisk. When they match the frequency of the self you've already become. When they are no longer affirmations, but identity. I spoke them once, and they echoed softly through me like a bell across still water. Not shaking the world, but shifting me. And because I was shifted, the world obeyed. What followed was not dramatic. It was divine. The feeling of watching the world yield. Not because I forced it, but because I aligned. Watching the money come. Not like a river flooding, but like the tide arriving exactly as expected. Because the state was already lived in. The assumption was already seated. The law had already been set in motion. The world did not need to be convinced. It needed only to reflect. So I watched the digits change, watched the contracts unfold, watched strangers become bridges. But none of it surprised me, because I had already arrived long before it happened. And this is what you must understand now, not just in concept, but in your breath, in your belly, in the marrow of your bones. You must arrive inwardly first. You must dwell in the state, as if there is no other. No fallback, no plan B, just the state of the one who already has, already is, already knows. From that dwelling, your words are charged with life. They are not questions, they are answers. They are not requests, they are answers. They are not requests, they are revelations. And the law responds. Feel the difference now. Feel the way your energy shifts when you stop speaking as a beggar and begin speaking as one who remembers. When you stop repeating to convince and begin affirming from truth. Let the old self fall away gently. Let it dissolve. It served its season. It taught you the contrast. But it is no longer your garment. Now the garment is ease. The robe is certainty. The tone is stillness. You do not need to feel powerful. You only need to feel complete. And when you feel complete, lack dissolves, delay dissolves, doubt dissolves. And all that remains is the simple echo of who you've chosen to be. I remember the first time I said them, and believed them completely. It was late, quiet, no audience, just me and the feeling. I whispered them not to manifest, but to reflect. And in that reflection the door opened. Not with a creak, not with a shout. It simply wasn't closed anymore. Because the door was never outside. Let this sink deep into you now. There is no separation. The thing you seek is already present in the field of your awareness. You do not bring it in. You do not build it. You become asterisk. The version of yourself who lives in the world where it is normal. Normal to be wealthy. Normal to be supported. Normal to be deeply at peace. And from that normalcy, miracles flow like breath. Quietly. rhythmically, faithfully. So listen again, not with ears, but with presence. Your 3 words are close, so close they are already forming in your breath, already echoing in your stillness. And when you are still enough to let them rise, when you are faithful enough to feel them as done, that's when you'll speak them, and nothing will ever be the same. And nothing is the same, not because the outer world changed, but because you did. Because the moment you spoke the words from the fullness of being, the world was no longer your master. It became your mirror, a soft, obedient mirror, reflecting not your needs, not your wishes, but your self-concept, your assumption, your silent decree. You realize now, the world does not push back, it doesn't resist you. It simply waits for your inner clarity, for your unwavering identification with the end. It doesn't need convincing, it only needs your certainty. And when you feel that certainty, not as performance, but as peace, something extraordinary happens. The desire no longer feels like desire, it feels like fact. No longer distant, no longer forming, simply here, present, natural. This is the sacred shift, from hoping to having, from longing to living, and it always begins not with action, not with strategy, but with being, with feeling, with the assumption so complete, there is no room for contradiction. I remember how it felt in my body. My chest opened, my breath deepened, my mind quieted. I wasn't trying to maintain belief. I wasn't juggling affirmations or forcing visualization. I had simply dead. I am the one who has. I am the one who knows. I am the one who is asterisk. And that decision, made in silence, reordered everything. The phone rang with unexpected news. An opportunity appeared, where there had been only closed doors. People began treating me differently, as if the shift had happened in them, not in me. But I knew the truth. The world was changing, because I had changed states. This is what it means to live from the end, not to wait for the result, but to feel from it so fully, that you forget you ever lacked it. You become the version of you who could not imagine it missing and then the world, like a servant waiting for instruction, begins to move. Call those things which be not as though they were. You do not speak of the lack, you speak from the fullness. You move, not toward, but as if and the moment you do, the bridge of incidents begins to unfold, not of your design, but of your assumption. A way is made where there was none, not by logic, but by law. Feel this in you now, not as theory, as embodiment. You are not imagining what could be, you are remembering what already is. You are not scripting what should happen. You are stepping into the life that already belongs to the version of you who simply knows and that knowing requires no outer confirmation. It is the confirmation. That is why the 3 words were enough, not because they held power on their own, but because they were spoken from alignment. They didn't shift the world. They shifted me and in shifting me the world had no choice. When you reach this place, the words may change. They may sound different to each soul, but their essence is always the same. They do not ask, they declare. They do not reach, they rest. They do not beg reality to respond. They simply say, I have already received and reality, being the faithful servant of your inner state, responds not with delay, but with obedience. So now, feel into your breath, not the shallow breath of the one still waiting, but the deep settled rhythm of the one who already knows, the one who already lives the life, the one for whom all things flow. Let your mind soften, let the outer world fade. You are not here to react, you are here to react, you are here to wish to create, not with force, but with feeling, not with striving, but with stillness. And from that stillness, something even deeper begins to stir, not just the words, but the presence behind them, the source of all spoken things, now ready to unveil itself in you. And as the presence behind the words begins to rise, you notice it does not come with noise, it comes with knowing. Like the hush that falls over a room just before something sacred begins. You feel it, not in the body alone, but in the space between thoughts. That place where imagination merges with truth, where assumption ceases to be a technique and becomes your atmosphere. You are not here to master the words. You are here to remember the technos word, the living vibration of I am from which all creation flows. The money was never the miracle. The miracle was always the remembrance of who speaks creation into form. The one who doesn't seek to receive, but dares to declare asterisk. When I first felt the fullness of the state, I no longer cared how or when. That part of me, restless, questioning, watching the clock of circumstance, grew quiet, because I had entered the end, and from that end all timelines collapse. All doors open, all bridges build themselves in silence. The three words didn't bring the millions. They revealed the me for whom the millions had always been natural, already received, already assumed, already worn like breath. You don't need to say them like a chant. You don't need to force them past your lips. You need only become the one for whom those words are truth. Spoken or unspoken, the vibration will go forth, and the outer world, ever faithful, ever exact, will return to you what you have returned to yourself. This is why the law never fails. It does not reward effort. It reflects embodiment. You do not get what you repeat. You get what you rest in. The feeling that settles in the chest, deep and unwavering, that is your prayer. And the response to that prayer is not granted. It is mirrored. Let yourself rest in that now. Let the striving melt. You do not need to manifest. You need to remember to feel as clearly as your own name, the reality of your wish fulfilled. And then from that sacred feeling to speak, not to change, but to reflect. I spoke them once while standing at the window, watching the light fall over the floor. Nothing in the room changed. And yet everything changed. Because I had become the one who had. I was no longer imagining wealth. I was no longer becoming successful. I was no longer hoping to receive. I was simply being the one for whom wealth is fact. And that shift, so gentle, so complete, began to ripple outward. Calls came, agreements flowed, doors that were closed without reason opened without explanation. But the greatest miracle was not what came. It was what no longer needed to come, because I felt full, complete. And from that fullness, the form appeared. Let yourself become full now. Not with things, but with knowing. Not with numbers, but with truth. That the power is in you. Not to strive, but to assume. Not to get, but to be. Be the one. Not someday, now, in this breath. And if you can feel that even for a moment, you are already there. The outer may take a little time to echo, but that is not your concern. Time is the slow mirror of faith. It is not your master. It is your shadow. So what were the words? Soon you will hear them for yourself. Not because I tell them to you, but because they rise from the stillness within. And when they do, you will know them, not by how they sound, but by what they unlock. And just as you prepare to receive them, not from me, but from the innermost sanctuary of your own being, something even more essential begins to reveal itself. Not the words, but the awareness that you were the source of them all along. And that awareness, rising now like breath returning after deep sleep, changes everything. Because the moment you realize you were the source all along, the search ends, the noise fades. And in its place a stillness descends, not the stillness of emptiness, but of fullness. A peace that no longer waits for the outer world to echo what the inner world already knows. You are not a receiver, you are the revealer. You are not the vessel waiting to be filled, you are the spring that overflows. And from that spring came the words, not as magic, but as memory. Not as a means to the end, but as the evidence that the end was already alive in me. They came from the version of myself, who had already received, already rested, already become asterisk. They came as a confirmation, not a question. As a reflection, not a reaching. And because I spoke them from that place, the outer world obeyed, not reluctantly, but instantly, in spirit. The form arrived only when I no longer watched the clock. I did not tell anyone. I did not announce it. I simply became it. I lived in the end, not as something to get to, but as something I had always been. I let the state wrap around me like silence, and the silence became sacred, holy. And in that holiness, all things were added. This is what you begin to feel now, that same silence, that same holiness. Not in words, but in being. The silence between the thoughts where the truth has always lived. The stillness that precedes the word, and gives the word its power. You can feel it in your chest now, can't you? That quiet certainty. Not excitement. Not hope. Just a deep knowing that the truth no longer needs to be proven. That what you assume with conviction will be made flesh. The word was made flesh, and dwelt among us. This was not metaphor. This is the mystery. That the feeling within you, the spoken declaration from the end, becomes the body, the money, the relationship, the miracle. And the word begins as a whisper. 3 words. Whispered, not shouted. Spoken inwardly, not to the world, but to your own soul. A confirmation of who you are, not who you wish to be, but who you have always been beneath the forgetting. When I said them, the world didn't pause. The sky didn't open, but something in me did. A veil tore, not in the heavens, but in the self-image I had worn too long. And through that tear came light, came ease, came unfolding. The words were asterisk, I already haven't. Simple, soft, final. And I meant them. Not with effort, but with presence. Not because I needed to believe them, but because I had become the one who did. I had accepted the end so fully that there was nothing left to fix, nothing left to wait for. I was no longer manifesting. I was remembering. And so the 68 million arrived, not because I called it from afar, but because I stopped denying that it was mine. I stopped looking at lack. I stopped checking the mirror. I began living as the reflection I wanted to see. And now you can feel it too. Not my words, but the truth behind them. The truth that you don't need my words at all. You only need your own asterisk. Your own version of the final declaration. The phrase that settles into your being like a seed into fertile soil, ready to bloom, because you are no longer questioning whether it will. You are not waiting. You are asterisk becoming asterisk. And even as you hear, something deeper calls from within, not to teach you, but to meet you, not to give, but to awaken. And what it shows you next will not be spoken, it will be asterisk, felt asterisk. And in that feeling, your reality begins its final turn. And as your reality begins its final turn, it does so not with drama, but with divine precision. You don't hear the machinery move, you don't see the hands rearranging the pieces, you only feel a deep sacred click. An inner alignment so true, the outer must bend to it. This is not force, this is fulfillment. The kind that arises when all seeking falls away, and only presence remains. You are no longer trying to match the vision. You are the vision resting in form. You are the answer clothed in silence. And that silence speaks louder than 1,000 affirmations. It declares asterisk. It is done. You may still walk through the same rooms, speak with the same people, live inside the same routines, but the air has changed. Something unseen but undeniable has shifted. The frequency of your being has altered. And all that comes to you now is born of that new tone, no longer a reflection of the old fear, but an echo of your inner yes. This is how the millions came, not all at once, not in a flash, but like light filling a room at sunrise, inevitable, steady, quiet. Because the world could no longer reflect lack, I had left that state behind. And the law, unbreakable, eternal, perfect, responded not to my words, but to my asterisk assumption, asterisk. The words were only the surface. The deeper current was what they rested on. Asterisk I already have. Not I will. Not I might. Not it's coming. Asterisk I already have. Asterisk and with each breath, that knowing grew roots. It lived in how I carried myself, how I answered the phone, how I thought of tomorrow. I was no longer bracing for lack. I was no longer rehearsing delay. I was living as if the promise had already become flesh, and so it did. According to your faith be it unto you. Faith is not belief in the future. Faith is not to belief in the future. Faith is identification now. It is not hoping things will change. It is stepping into the version of you for whom they already have. And when that version becomes familiar, when it becomes your dwelling, the outer becomes irrelevant. It will follow. It must. Because the world is not reacting to you. It is remembering you. Feel that remembering now. Let it rise without force. The way the tide rises, the way the stars appear. You don't need to chase it. You only need to remain in the state. Dwell there, breathe there, sleep there, and everything else will be added, not because you begged for it, but because you became the one for whom it could not help but arrive. You've crossed the threshold now. You can feel it. There's no going back, even if the outer appears unchanged. Asterisk or not. And that is all that matters, because the outer is only your echo. It is not the cause, it is the effect. You don't need to repeat the words anymore, not like before. Now they live in you. Now they asterisk you. They arise without effort, like the name of someone you love. familiar, sacred, complete. I already have. And the world, hearing this silent decree, rushes to agree. Let yourself rest in that. Not briefly, fully. Let the words fade into feeling. Let the feeling become your identity. And let the identity carry you into a life where abundance is not arrival, it is remembrance. And as that remembrance deepens, something even quieter begins to stir. Not a new teaching, but an ancient presence. The part of you that was never seeking to manifest at all, but only to awaken . And now, as that ancient presence stirs within you, it does not bring answers, it brings remembrance. Not of a lesson, but of a self. The self that existed before lack, before effort, before the illusion of separation. The self that did not come to manifest a thing, but to awaken to its own nature, . The self that never doubted, never asked how, never waited, because it was the fulfillment, from the beginning. This presence does not rush, it does not plead, it breathes, and in its breath is the rhythm of all creation. The rhythm you've now remembered how to match, no longer as a student chasing truth, but as truth clothed in stillness. And that stillness is where your true wealth flows from. You are not manifesting for the sake of acquiring. You are manifesting because it is your nature to express . Because consciousness, when resting in truth, reveals its own reflection without effort. Just as the moon reflects the sun without striving, your world reflects your inner knowing without resistance. I already have was never about the money. It was about your identity. It was about letting go of the small self that thought it had to earn, achieve, hustle, or convince the universe to bless it. That self was built on the illusion of delay, but this self, the one you are now, is built on the rock of being. And from that rock flows the river. The world tries to tell you that your value is proven by what you possess, but the law says otherwise. The law says possess inwardly, and the world must mirror it, not as compensation, but as confirmation. You possess by assuming, you assume by feeling, and you feel not by force, but by faith. The quiet kind of faith, the kind that no longer checks whether it's working, because when you it, you no longer need to test it. You simply watch as the world begins to echo a deeper tone. Your tone, let that tone settle in your chest now. Let it move through your breath like warmth. You do not have to hold it tightly, it holds you. You are the one who already has, who already is, who no longer doubts. And that state, that holy state, is your temple, your sanctuary, your storehouse. You do not need to guard it. You need only to dwell in it, to make it familiar, to make it home. This is where the words become flesh, not when you repeat them, but when you relax into them when they are no longer something you say, but something you when they rise naturally, like breath, like love, like light, through a window. I already have. Let that be your lullaby. Let it sing in your cells. Let it soothe every question the world once taught you to ask, because every question dissolves here, every fear fades here, every delay unravels here. And as you rest deeper into this state, you begin to understand, you never needed the millions. You needed only to remember the self for whom millions are simply one of many reflections of wholeness. You are whole now, and from that wholeness, life will show you what you've always been. And even now, as your awareness opens like a flower in moonlight, another layer begins to unfold, not new, but deeper, not louder, but closer, an unveiling, not of results, but of revelation, waiting patiently for you to notice, to feel, to become . And as that deeper unveiling begins to blossom, you notice it asks nothing from you. It doesn't urge you to do, to strive, to grasp. It only waits for your consent . A gentle opening, a surrender, the kind of surrender not born of weakness, but of divine confidence, the kind that comes when you finally remember you were never separate from the fulfillment, only asleep to it. Now you begin to see what had always been veiled, not because it was hidden, but because you were still watching the mirror instead of becoming the image. The mirror is faithful. It was never the problem. It reflected, precisely, the version of you you dared to embody. So now in this sacred quiet, you feel it, the version of you that has asterisk, always known asterisk, the one who does not need to create a result, but simply allows the result to unfold around their knowing like a garment woven of light. This version of you never hurried, never doubted, never waited. This version was always living in the end, even when your outer senses tried to distract you with delay. And what is delay but unchosen identity? The moment you choose, fully, finally, inwardly, everything else must yield, not as favor, but as function. Not because you are worthy. Worth was never the question. The law responds not to worth, it responds to assumption. Let that be your peace tonight. You do not need to earn this. You do not need to prove it. You only need to be still enough to feel it already yours, already true, already lived. And when that becomes your dominant vibration, your natural posture, the world cannot help but reflect it. This is how I knew the millions were mine. Before they arrived, before they showed themselves, before a single digit appeared, I felt the shift. Not a trembling, but a stillness. Not excitement, but peace. A peace so deep, I no longer looked outward, because inwardly, it was already done. I remember pouring a cup of tea and feeling it settle, the knowing that nothing was missing, that even if the world took time to respond, it was not delay, it was devotion. Every detail arranging itself around the vibration of I already have. And so I watched, not with expectation, but with quiet awe, as the world began to reflect what I had already claimed. Not through struggle, but through selection. I had selected the state. I had sat in it, slept in it, lived in it, and the outer, faithful to its master, rose to match. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Not hope as yearning, but hope as conviction, that sacred assurance that what you are in feeling, you are in fact, and what you are in fact, the world cannot deny. Let this feeling anchor itself in you now. Let it reach beyond the words and settle into your breath. You are not becoming the one who has. You are remembering that you always were. There is no becoming for the one who is . And that is your key. That is your open door. Now feel what it is to move without waiting, to think without fear, to speak from the end, not toward it. What does your body do when it believes it's done? What does your voice sound like when it no longer pleads, but proclaims ? Let that be your frequency now. Let that be your atmosphere. And as you rest in that sacred current, you will begin to notice something even more profound. Not just the external world changing, but your relationship, to it. A soft detachment, a holy indifference, not coldness, but clarity. Because now, you know the world is not the source, you are and from that knowing, another layer begins to part, not toward another desire, but toward your truest identity, the one that lives not to manifest, but to radiate, to reveal, to become the fulfillment itself. And now as that layer parts, it doesn't reveal something new. It reveals what was always waiting beneath your striving, a self unburdened by outcome, a presence untouched by delay, not a version of you that possesses the desire, but a being that is the desire fulfilled, not wealth or something external, but as an inner current, a radiance, a quiet frequency of completion. This is the self that never needed to manifest because it never forgot it was whole. You begin to sense the difference. It's subtle, like the change in light before dawn. You move not to cause, but to express. You speak not to declare war on your old thoughts, but to echo the truth you now carry like breath. The world becomes light in your hands, not because you dominate it, but because you no longer resist it. You understand it's not here to oppose you, it's here to reflect you, and what it reflects now is different. Not because the world changed first, but because you shifted the projector. You assumed the end, and the film long ago finished simply began to play the scene that matched your new role. It's never the desire that changes the story. It's the assumption of already having it . That's what the 3 words were. A sacred thread that tied me to the end without needing to understand how the middle would unfold. I already have. Spoken from the stillness, not the surface. Not because I wanted it to be true, but because I knew it was. I could feel it in my body before it showed up in my bank. I could rest in it like a home before any door had opened. And in that resting, the form arrived. This is how the law works. Not like a machine, but like a mirror. Not coldly, but perfectly. It listens not to your wish, but to your walk, not to your voice, but to your vibration. And once you vibrate from the end, the world becomes obedient to your identity. It's no longer about trying to think the right thoughts. It's about embodying the truth beneath the thought, the state that makes the thought unnecessary. That's the real shift. When you no longer repeat I am rich to override lack, but when you wake in the morning and feel wealth as naturally as your own skin, not as excitement, as normalcy, as ease, that's when you know the outer is just a matter of time, and time itself bends when you no longer need it. Feel the beauty of that. Feel how soft power becomes when it's no longer needed to control. You are not shaping the world with force. You are shaping it with identity, with assumption, with peace. This is why I stopped watching the evidence. I stopped measuring the manifestation, because the more I measured, the more I admitted I wasn't yet in the end. But when I became the end, there was nothing left to track, only to dwell, to rest. And from that rest, all things unfolded. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, stayed not in fear but in fulfillment, stayed not on outcomes but on the state. The end held so vividly in feeling, the beginning fades into dust, and so I lived from it. I felt it real, and I spoke the words not as magic, but as a mirror. The world heard my silence more clearly than my words. It responded to my peace, not my practice. Let that be your compass now. Not what you say, but what you know without saying asterisk. Not what you do, but who you have already become asterisk. And even now, from that state of silent knowing, something more begins to move, not for the sake of another result, but to reveal the deepest freedom, the kind that no longer wants to manifest, because it finally remembers that it is the manifestation itself And as you begin to remember that you are the manifestation itself, the old questions no longer find a place to land. The need for signs fades. The search for proof dissolves. You are no longer waiting for reality to show you who you are. You are showing reality what it must become. Because you know now, it has no will of its own. The world does not decide. It reflects. It echoes the voice behind your feeling, the tone behind your thought. And when that tone is still, when it is sure, when it is born, not from longing but from being, the reflection is inevitable. You are not asking the mirror to smile. You are smiling first. This is the deep freedom. The freedom that lives beyond the miracle. It's the freedom of identity. The quiet understanding that the desire was never about the thing. It was the call back to your true self. The money was not the prize. It was the mirror. And now the mirror speaks only what you first whispered in the dark, I already have. And you did. Before the checks arrived, before the calls came, before the zeros multiplied, you had already received, because you had already become That is the root of it all, becoming the one who no longer waits, not in pretense, not in wish, in embodiment. It doesn't take time, it takes trust. Not trust in the process, trust in the presence, the one within you that creates all things by being them. When I said the words, they were not a command to the universe. They were a surrender to what was already mine. They were not shouted into space. They were whispered into stillness, and the stillness answered. The moment I truly felt that I already had, the outer began to rearrange itself. Not always visibly, not always quickly, but certainly, the path began to form beneath my feet as I walked. The people, the ideas, the resources, they all appeared like props in a play whose script had long been written. I had simply stepped into my role, and this is what I offer you now, not a technique, but a remembrance. You don't need to figure it out. You only need to feel from the end so fully, so naturally, that the world must respond, not because it favors you, but because it follows you. It's not personal, it's law. Before Abraham was, I am. Not I was, not I will be. I am. Always now, always complete, always enough. The moment you identify with the end, not with desire but with possession, the world will bend, not out of magic, but out of obedience. So rest in that identity now, let it deepen. Let it dissolve every trace of waiting, every edge of effort. You are not trying to feel it. You are allowing it to rise You are letting the truth do what truth always does, unfold. There is nothing left to fix. There is only more to asterisk, become aware of asterisk. And the awareness grows not by doing, but by dwelling. So dwell here, in the fullness, in the end. Speak from it. Think from it. And when the outer tries to contradict you, remain. Do not flinch. The echo must align, but the tone must stay steady, and you are steady now. So much so, you can feel another layer parting, something lighter, yet more whole. Something that isn't trying to manifest anything, because it finally knows. It is everything. And when you know you are everything, you stop chasing anything. The desire that once felt like reaching now feels like recognition. The hunger fades, not because you have given up, but because you've remembered that there is nothing to add to yourself, only something to uncover. The dream was never out there. It was buried in your identity, waiting for you to wear it without apology. There is a holy stillness in this place, a kind of sacred neutrality. You're no longer pulled by craving or pushed by fear. You dwell, you abide, and from that dwelling all things are added, without effort, without strain, because the law responds not to action, but to assumption, . When I spoke the 3 words I already have, it was not a declaration to change the world. It was a declaration that I no longer needed it to. I had stopped assigning meaning to the outer. I had stopped scanning for confirmation. The feeling was enough. The being was full. And the fullness was the only seed I ever needed to plant. What came after was just the echo. And you are beginning to feel this echo even now, not in events, not in numbers, but in atmosphere. The air around your thoughts is changing. The silence between your breaths is deeper. And in that deep something true is speaking, not with words, but with weight. A felt knowing that the path is not ahead of you. It is beneath you. And it rises as you walk. There is no need to map it, no need to manage it. There is only the inner agreement that it is already done. And this is the only work to remain in the end not visit it, not glance at it, but live there so completely that the beginning bends to match. And it always will, because the world is not happening to you, it is happening through you. You are the projector. The imaginal act is the film, the emotion is the light, and the screen simply reflects what is played within. Once I knew this, not intellectually, but experientially, I stopped asking. I started thanking . I started moving from gratitude, not for what I wanted, but for what was already mine in consciousness. And when gratitude is your ground, the harvest cannot delay, because nothing blossoms faster than what is already assumed to be there. This is why the phrase worked, not because the words were special, but because they were spoken from identity, not desperation, not effort, just truth, calm, quiet truth. And when truth becomes your inner climate, reality bows. You are not here to be taught what to do. You are here to remember who you are, and who you are is the operant power, the divine image. The one who calls those things which be not as though they were, and they become . So now, rest in your own becoming, not as a process, but as a permission. Let the outer move how it must. You do not chase signs. You do not need the mirror to catch up before you smile. You smile first, because the smile is the seed, the state is the source. You've become the one for whom wealth is no longer a goal. It is a reflection, not an achievement, but a rhythm. And you live in that rhythm now. And from here, from this breath, you will begin to witness not only what you've drawn in, but what you've outgrown. The old states that once seemed like truth will no longer fit. And as they fall away, something even more radiant begins to show itself. Not what you wanted, but what you truly are, beyond even the desire, beyond even the dream. And beyond even the dream, what remains is essence, a state so pure, it doesn't strive to manifest, it radiates. It does not need to believe in outcomes, because it lives in origin. In this space you don't see money as gain, you see it as confirmation, a shadow of the light within you. And when you finally see it this way, lack loses all meaning, time loses all weight. You no longer wait for life. You life, unfolding. This is the level most never touch, not because it is far, but because it is still . So still, the rushing mind cannot perceive it. So full, the seeking self overlooks it. But you are here now, and you can feel the shift, gentle, complete, no arrival. Just asterisk return asterisk. You are not creating anymore. You are revealing. Let that truth settle into you like a soft rain falling on quiet ground. Feel the release that comes when you are no longer holding your desire apart from yourself. When you are no longer preparing to receive, but living in the echo of already having. This is how I lived, not loudly, not publicly, but within a certainty that asked for no validation. The millions were not a surprise. They were the reflection of a self I had already met in imagination and had chosen to stay with, long before the world could recognize him. The world is always slower than the word, but the word never fails. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word asterisk was asterisk God, and the Word became flesh, not by will, but by assumption, not by effort, but by embodiment. And you are the Word made visible every time you live from the end, every time you feel as if it were already so. You may think this is about money. It's not, it's about selfhood. The money is only the echo. The real miracle is this: you no longer need to become. You asterisk remembered that you already are asterisk. That was the only distance. And now the distance has collapsed. There is no gap between you and your desire, because there is no separation between you and yourself. The one who has, the one who knows, the one who moves through life not trying to get, but allowing what is already theirs to appear. That's how I moved. In conversation I answered as the one who had. In thought, I pondered as the one who knew. In silence, I rested as the one who no longer needed to prove anything. The result, the world rearranged. But I was no longer watching for it. I had stopped checking. I had already arrived. And from that place things began to multiply. Not just money, but peace. Not just opportunities, but alignment. Everything became easier. Not because life had changed, but because asterisk had changed. The only thing that matters, my inner state. And now it's your turn to feel what that's like. To wake up one morning, and not need to ask, when will it happen? Because your being already holds the answer. To go through your day not waiting for signs, because you are the sign. To lie down at night and fall asleep, not hoping, but asterisk dwelling asterisk. Feel that now, and as you do, something deeper still begins to stir. Not a new state, but a sacred return to the source of assumption itself. The part of you that never asked how, because it asterisk was the how asterisk. Ready now to emerge in full clarity, in full stillness, in full light. And as the part of you that asterisk is asterisk, the how begins to emerge, you realize it was never asleep, only quiet, patient, waiting beneath the layers of becoming, beneath the noise of needing, beneath the voice that whispered, someday. It never spoke in future tense. It never negotiated with time. It only ever said asterisk, now, I am treasured. This is the source of assumption. Not a thought, not a strategy, not a script, but a presence. And from that presence flows every form, every figure, every fortune. When you dwell in it, you are no longer trying to bring things into your life. You are letting what was already yours become visible, in its perfect time and perfect way. This is the soft power of identity, the still radiance of assumption, the sacred state, where you no longer dream asterisk of asterisk, the thing, because you have become the one who dreams asterisk from asterisk it, from the end, from fullness, from peace. That is where I lived when the millions came, not because I pushed, not because I performed, but because I asterisk remembered asterisk. I let the memory of wealth, not as cash, but as consciousness, rise within me like sunlight over a quiet sea. And the world, faithful as ever, gave form to my vibration. It always does. And when you know this deeply enough, you stop wondering, you stop asking when, you stop needing evidence, because the echo always comes, but only after the tone, and the tone is asterisk, you asterisk. So how does one assume? You do not try, you do not repeat until you believe. You simply asterisk move asterisk from the state. You imagine as though it is already real. You speak as though the promise has been fulfilled. You rest as though you've arrived, because you have. In consciousness, you are always ahead of the world. It is only catching it summing to your inner decree, and when it does, it will feel natural, obvious, not miraculous, but inevitable. That's what happened with me. I remember checking the account, not with hope, but with peace, and there it was, the reflection. not the reward, but the result of having lived in the end, not once, not occasionally, but as a way of being. Because consistency is not about discipline, it's about identity. When you truly become the one who has, you don't have to remember to act like them. You asterisk or asterisk them, and the law has no choice but to follow. Ask and it shall be given you. Seek and you shall find. Knock and it shall be opened unto you. But the asking is not begging, it is assuming. The seeking is not grasping, it is choosing. The knocking is not pounding, it is stepping into the room, as though the door was never locked, and it never was. You only needed to remember you were already inside. Now feel what it is to live like that. Not one day, but this day. Not as a technique, but as a truth. Let it fill your breath. Let it settle behind your ribs. You are not practicing anymore. You are asterisk being asterisk, and what you are being will always be revealed. You already have, and say it gently. Let it settle, not for repetition, but for revelation. And as you feel it take root, notice how the outer world begins to lose its grip. It no longer commands your attention. It no longer pulls your emotion. You have returned to the seat of power, still, quiet, sure. And from this seat, you don't manifest by will. You manifest by presence. And even now, that presence begins to open something greater. Not just more abundance, but more remembrance. Not just the fruits of assumption, but the flowering of your eternal self. The one who never had to ask, because it never left the end. And as you realize you never left the end, something within you finally exhales. The tension that held your breath for years, without your noticing, softens. The striving that colored your prayers with doubt dissolves. You no longer feel the need to make it happen, because you are it happening. You are not chasing destiny, you are standing in it. This is not a feeling of power, it is a feeling of presence. The kind that makes time irrelevant, the kind that makes outcomes feel like old stories being retold by a calmer voice. You don't need them to happen now, because within they already have. And this is what most never realize. The fulfilled state carries no urgency. It doesn't watch the clock. It doesn't fear what hasn't shown up. It rests, because it has already received. And that rest is not passivity, it is alignment. It is the quiet flame that speaks louder than action ever could. That is the flame I tended, long before the world caught up, long before the form appeared. I lived in that flame. I breathed from that flame. I slept in the warmth of the end fulfilled. And the world, obedient, precise, divine in its structure, responded in the only way it ever can. It became the shape of my assumption. I remember a morning when nothing on the outside had changed. The account looked the same. The world still moved by its usual rhythm. But within me something had shifted. I no longer saw the number and felt lack. I saw it and felt peace. Because I knew what was coming was already mine in consciousness . And that was enough. I didn't need proof. The feeling was the proof. The law does not require physical confirmation. It requires spiritual completion . The moment you feel something is done, the law begins its quiet work of revealing it. And the deeper your peace, the faster the unfolding. So I lived from it. Not perfectly, but faithfully. I returned again and again to the end. Whenever doubt came, I didn't argue. I replaced the feeling. I didn't beg for reassurance. I became the one who no longer needed it. Because you don't attract what you want. You attract what you are willing to remain . This is the holy discipline. Not action, but stillness. Not effort, but embodiment. And this is why the words I already have carried such weight. Not because they were said many times, but because they were said once from the right state. And that state became my dwelling place. That is how I manifested the millions. Not through pushing, not through control, but by assuming the identity of the one who no longer had to push, no longer had to wait. And the money came, quietly, easily, like a river finally finding the path of least resistance. And you can feel that path now. You may not know the steps, but you feel the current. And if you surrender to that current, it will carry you not toward what you want, but toward who you are . And from that self, all things flow. Delight thyself also in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desires of thine heart. The delight is not in requesting, it is in remembering . The desire is not granted, it is revealed, through the one who chooses to become it before it is seen. You are that one. So now, let the old self fall away, not with force, but with permission. Let it dissolve. Let it shed like skin no longer needed. You do not need to wait for the new version of you. You are already wearing it. And the more you allow it, the faster the world will reflect it. And as you breathe from this holy identity, you'll notice a different kind of unfolding. Not the rush of manifestation, but the unfolding of asterisk, meaning asterisk itself. A deeper why beneath the wealth. A sacred calling that was always there, just beneath the numbers, ready now to awaken. And as that sacred calling awakens beneath the surface of your manifested dream, you begin to understand what was really unfolding all along. It was never just about money. It was never about the outcome. It was the unveiling of asterisk, you asterisk. The true self, born not of circumstance, but of awareness. A self that doesn't chase the promise, because it asterisk is asterisk the promise, already fulfilled. The 68 million was a symbol, a shape assumed by consciousness to show you your own power. It came not as a prize, but as a mirror. And now that you've seen your reflection in it, the image begins to soften, not fade, but deepen. Because beyond the thing you desired was the realization that asterisk you are the cause of all that you see asterisk. You are the operant power. You are the word made visible. And every time you live from the end, not just imagine it, but asterisk feel asterisk from it, the world bends to match your inner world, quietly, faithfully, without fail. This is why the three words mattered, not for their sound, but for their source. Spoken from longing, they are noise. Spoken from knowing, they are law. Asterisk I already have, not because the evidence showed up, but because you chose to live in the state of the one who no longer needs it to. And from that state, life flows, not in straight lines, but in patterns of grace, in loops of favor, in doors that never needed to be opened because in truth, there were no walls, just beliefs, gently released. This is the real manifestation, not the result, but the remembering. You did not get something. You asterisk reclaimed asterisk, who you were before the world told you to wait. Now you stand in the end. Not a finish line, but a foundation. And from here everything changes, not because you move, but because you asterisk remain asterisk. The seed stays planted, the feeling stays lived, the state becomes home, and home is where all things return. You don't need to force it. You don't need to force it. You don't need to fix it. You only need to chill not, to be still, and let the law fulfill what your assumption has already made real. For it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom, and the kingdom is not out there. It is here within, alive, in feeling. So let that feeling grow now. Let it become the air you breathe, the rhythm of your thoughts, the ground of your stillness. Let it be normal to feel whole, natural to feel wealthy, sacred to feel asterisk done asterisk, because the manifestation was never about getting. It was always about asterisk being asterisk. And you have become the one for whom abundance is a given, not because of effort, but because of identity. The millions arrived when you no longer needed them to, when they were no longer something to attain, but something to reflect the self you had asterisk, already assumed asterisk. And now what else might be possible from here? Not from lack, not from want, but from the overflow of the one who knows how this works, who knows that every desire is a divine echo, calling you back to yourself, who knows that every fulfilled dream is simply a remembrance dressed in form. You no longer need more evidence. You are the evidence. So rest now, fully, calmly. In the end, the true end that is always beginning again. And from this breath, this moment, let the words live on in you, not as technique but as truth. Asterisk I already have. Let them be your silence. Let them be your peace. Let them be the still place from which all things bloom, over and over again. Not because you strive, but because you asterisk know asterisk